Thanks for staying with us. And well, that was Alternative Energy Demystified there by our guest, Ajibola Adekunle, who himself is a celebrated, I'll say, energy consultant. So we will move straight to the next concern on this program today. And it's got to do with family values and the changing times. It is with much joy that I welcome our next guest, an advocate of society transformation, one who believes that charity must begin from home. She is a facilitator at the Institute for National Transformation International, and which is an institute set for nation building, transforming individuals, homes, and societies. Bukky is also project manager of an NGO, Virgin's Pride Network. She's a girl child advocate, and she's also a licensed chaplain and prison minister. That's quite interesting. Welcome to the show, Bukky.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Bukky brings a lot to the table. I've had some conversations with her. And welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
And speaking about tables, now, seeing as we are seated right now, do you remember that once upon a time when you couldn't sit at the same table with your parents, especially if they had visitors? Can we remember such a time? At this point in time, the younger ones are no longer free to sit at table. They participate in the conversation.
Absolutely.
Can we start this conversation talking about
absolutely.
family values?
Absolutely.
I was just thinking about that. I think you're right there.
Yes.
Because it seems a great place to begin engaging Bukky today will be at that table. All right. So how has the evolution or maybe changes affected the family structure?
Okay, so I think the first thing is let's not even talk about these changing times.
Okay.
Let's give it a flavor so that we're all on the same page, right? So we talk about changing times. We're in the 21st century, right? And this has come to stay till 2000 because it's about 100 years. And we're in the era of digital era, artificial intelligence. And we'll talk about the fourth industrial revolution. And then that leads us to the Internet of Things. Right now, a lot of people spend, on the average, they talk about 4 hours. In fact, the last report we got was that Nigerians in terms of timing, they spend close to about 4 hours on social media, which is above average. The average is about 2 hours.
Daily?
So, daily. At least as we speak, we have active social media users about 31 million, despite the fact that access to internet is about 122. So reading out the figures. Then, of course, we now talk about virtual reality, which has come to stay. So we are saying things that are real, but in the virtual world, still talking about changing times. And then, of course, we now come to changes in terms of what we even call family. You talked about the time that, I mean, when I was growing up, you don't sit. Once a visitor comes in, you jackpot. Thanks. But you know, right now, I mean, yes, you are allowed to sit.
If you're cutting eyes for themselves, they don't see it.
They'll say, Mommy, is there something wrong? Is there something wrong with it? You know? So, but these are changing times. And in terms of what we even call family, what do we even call family? In our times when we were growing up, you know, you would say it's mother, father, and children. Then you could say extended families. But right now, you talk about family, you just say it's a group of people, group of persons, right? Knitted by blood, or by what? Marriage, or by adoption. So the nomenclature is changing. And then, of course, we talk about what? What do we even call divorce? What do we even call relationships? Changing times. Now, there are changing times in terms of the roles of fathers, roles of mother, right? And then, of course, we talk about inclusion right now.
Okay.
We talk about the LGBTQ.
So a lot has changed.
A lot have changed.
A lot has
A
changed.
lot has changed.
Okay.
But then now, how do we now talk about the family values?
All right, so let's get into it proper.
Which is a
Which is where we're
discussion now.
Family values.
Exactly.
And the question could be, what really are these values that we are looking for in the family.
All right now, okay, so that's fine, because we need to talk about these things. If you don't talk about it, then we are not doing justice to it. Because, like I said, a lot of people do not know what the value of the family is. Because one, I remember what Billy Graham said. He said, if you really want to disintegrate the society, just attack the family.
Wow.
Just attack the family. And another person now took it up to say, it's not just even the numbers of the people in the family, but we're talking about the quality, which brings me to values. Because when you open up a family, let's even start with society. When you open up a society, what do you see? The family. I call it the thread that we use to weave the fabric. They call it the unit of the society, or the basic unit of the society. But I see it as a building block of the society. So when you open up a family, what do you see? You see individuals. So if individuals have values, then obviously the family has values. Then obviously, because they are not just in the family alone. They operate in the society. Sure. You see them in the public spaces. You see them at work. You see them at religious organizations. You see them everywhere. So what they bring is what you see. So when you see a society and you see that a society is full of corruption, there's no more trust, there's no more integrity. Now we're talking about accountability. We're talking about the fact that our people, we can't trust them anymore. If they say good morning, you better look at your timepiece to be sure that it's actually morning.
So what are these prize values that are absent that we're searching
Yes,
for?
that is it. So that is the crux of the matter now. So what are these things, like you said, that are absent in the family? In the family, that is where you are first schooled in citizenship. How do you behave? So when we talk about social values, how do you behave in the society? In terms of politeness, in terms of respect, in terms of dignity, how do you carry yourself? How confident are you? You know, in terms of your integrity, which I've talked about responsibility, accountability. Then we talk about, your moral values. What is it about you?
But I have a little issue there.
Yeah.
Because you see, we decided to be a little more liberal, and with the times, the world has interrelated so much, and we're getting, quote, values from everywhere.
Absolutely.
How do we keep our values?
Are we getting values from everywhere, or we're getting information?
Well, we're getting influences.
And
influences. I think it should be influences and exposure.
Yeah.
You see, and that is where, let me say it this way, technology has come to stay. It's not going anywhere. In fact, we are going to be advancing. So, but then we don't let's get ourselves stuck up in the fact that, it is because of technology. That is where you're talking about influences, that people are no longer having values because they're on social media and all that and all that. No. For me, I think we need to have the right mindset. Okay. Even with the technology, values still remain the same. If you have trained up your children to respect people, to respect elders, to say the way it is, to be truthful, integrity, to be responsible, to be accountable, even with technology, it continues. But you see, where we dropped the ball, I mean, let's call a spade, like my pastor would say, not an agricultural instrument. We actually dropped the ball. Because if you look back in those days, we had time in the morning, early in the morning. We had time for family meetings. Call it prayer time before you go to work or before you go to school.
Yeah.
So some values are deposited in you because, I come from a Christian background. So we read the Bible. So there are some values they will say, okay, do you see that this one said the truth here and blah, blah, blah. And then when you go to the school, even in the public spaces.
Even before you go into class.
Even before you go to class. You still meet the values there. Yeah. An adult can actually correct you if you are disrespectful to another elder. Right there, even in the society, they will say, that was rude. Come on, come back and say you're sorry. That is not happening now. And then, of course, when they come back in the evening, right, there was no traffic and all that. You come back and you have your dinner time, family time. Where is all that?
So
You
in
understand?
essence, what you're saying really
Yes.
is that we had our roles better defined
Absolutely.
in those days,
Absolutely.
right? So now, for instance, women, it's believed that women have a particular role in instilling these values. True?
Okay, so I come from a school of thought that the person who actually directs things, who shapes the values, is the man.
Tell me about
Okay.
it.
That is why they say the man is the head of the home.
And the woman is the neck.
Call it whatever you want to call it. You understand? There is a misconception. I totally agree that because of the fact that the way God has designed us, we carry the child, this motherly instinct, we watch over them. But the person who sets the values, that in my house, in my government, I want you to be transparent. I want you to be honest. I want you to be full of responsibility. I want you to have accountability. All those things that we talk about now, that we are now craving to have. Even the World Bank is saying that these are the skills that we must have in this 21st century.
Yeah.
Talking about emotional intelligence, where do you get those ones from? It's from the family. But we dropped the ball. Right, so like I said, I come from a school of thought. It's the man that sets the tone, and then the woman takes it on. Yes, though the woman also adds her own beat, because that is who we are. That is how God has created us, But then both hands now come together to say, this is the way we are going to shape our children, because we are looking. When you look at those children, you're not just looking at your children, you're looking at a part of the society.
True.
And now the world is global. It's a global village.
Okay.
So whatever you instill in them now goes abroad. That is why you find out that there are some names, and of recent we've been hearing that in Nigeria. So let me pretend that it's not this year. Probably, let me just say, in the last 2 years, we hear probably a name just comes up, a figure just comes up, and the figure just does something wrong in the society, and then you say,
Okay.
that's not.
Yeah.
That is
Because
not.
because I was actually, my
That's not what we go to family for.
yeah, my mind was moving towards that direction. That once upon a time, your parents will say to you, maybe when you're going to school or you're just
What's your
taking
many
on
to share
a
Yoruba?
new responsibility.
Absolutely. I
know
had that many
whose
times.
Child, whose daughter, whose son you are,
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
that sticks.
Oh, it sticks.
And that sticks. So what if these values are not present in our homes, in our family? Like we have seen, they are not present. What should we do?
That is it. And I think that is the landing point, because it's not about talking about the problems. Everybody knows the problem. So what is the solution?
Yes.
I'll be blunt, and I hope you will pardon me. If you take God out of the family, there's crisis. Because the family, who designed the family, is God. And like I always say, that when we come to manuals of instruction on how to live, the best I've seen so far, not that there are other books, there are other books, but the best I've seen so far is the Bible. It talks about your instructions on how to live as a human being. So one, you're talking about the solution. We've got to bring God back into the family. That's one. Then two, we've got to create that time for the children. That is when you pass on the baton. So enough of the fact that, I'm working, yes, we know, in terms of economic issues, you have to get up very early, you have to come back late and all that. But you have to deliberately and intentionally create that time where you pass on the values. Even if you cannot have dinner times, what happens your weekends? You understand? You've just to create the time. And thankfully, we have technology, and that's why I say we have to embrace technology. Even if you're not there, we've got tools that you do video conferencing.
Connect.
So this is not the time that your son wants to talk to you and he says, oh, my dad will, I can't see my dad now. I have to wait till weekend because I have to sleep by 8 o'clock. Dad comes in at 10. So this is the time to say, I want to talk to my dad. It's 4 o'clock. Okay, dad, okay, by now, Dad will be free. Yeah. Dad, I want to talk to you. And you chat and you talk. What's the issue? Oh, I had an issue at home, or I had an issue at work. Somebody was bullying me. So what should I do? And blah, blah, blah. You know, so this is, so you have to embrace technology. And then the thought, it's not about you talking alone. They've got to see you do what? Do it.
Do it, yeah.
I remember in, when I was very young, I think I was going into my secondary school, you know, then it was Form 1 years ago. Yeah. You know, I remember that there was a man that came to visit us at home, you know, and when he was going, I can't remember, maybe it was me he gave that bundle of money to, or maybe it was my dad, I really can't remember, but I remember that picture, you know, children, you know, it was brown and had money stocked in, you know. It wasn't the fact that I was young. I know that there was a lot of money in that. And then I remember that, I think it was me that gave, and then my dad picked it up, took it from me and handed it back to the man. Wow. He said, oh no, don't bother. And for me, you know, after that, it's money now. He gave with children. Yes. And my dad said, it's not all gifts that you take.
Yeah. Wow.
And I said,
and that must have stopped.
What do you mean? Okay. He said he will explain it to me. And he did afterwards. He said, it's not all gifts that you take. Yeah. That there are some gifts that you take that will make you to close your eyes. Now, my dad, you know, happened to be in the financial sector at that time, you know, and then he had to be approving, you know, monies and things like that. Yeah. So now I see, I said, oh, that was setting an example that it's not all gifts that you take. That's a value.
That's a value.
Okay, that's a value. So what am I saying is that it's not just about you talking, but let the children see you do it. Sure. So if you talk and they don't see you do it, how do they know that what you have said is correct? So you still have to create that time.
And it's worse if you say A and you're operating on B frequency.
I'm telling you. And that is why we just have to be very careful. It is not good for you to be at home and say, you know, I want your children to be this and this and this, and then they go on social media and then they see your name that's
you're doing or something.
You understand? Fighting, struggling, you know, they're saying that EFCC is after you, something. So I think we just have to bring God back.
So you must leave the part.
Oh, yes.
You must leave the part.
I'm telling you. So 3 things. Bring God back into the home. Talk about it. Effective communication. You must have like what I call the credo. You understand? What are the guiding principles? What are those things that are paramount to you for a human being to live? You know, those are the values, your principles, your beliefs, your worldview. Those things that make you, that stand out for you. That when they see you, they say, in Yoruba, they say, Omolebo. Oh, yes, I know. You know, they have good manners there. In this house, oh no, don't go there. They don't have values there. Yeah. And then the third one is they must see you do it. If you do those 3, they must see you do it.
I don't know if we have any. Do we have 1 minute?
Well, you could.
Yeah, okay, let me squeeze this in because I remember back in school, you know, in those days, I think it was about 1973. Moral instruction.
Yes, we had it.
Was removed from the
curriculum now.
The curriculum, and we used to learn a lot. I went to St. Finbar's College.
Oh, fantastic!
Proudly.
Oh, I went to that secondary school, Bariga. It was a always clash on the road,
and I remember Father Slattery used to take us moral instruction.
In fact, then it wasn't the
where
curriculum.
I'm going is that government removed.
They removed it.
So what is the role of government in all of this?
Yes,
in 1 minute.
In 1 minute, and that is why I said that to build a society, there are 7 critical sectors that you must see. One of it is education, family, entertainment, media, right? And then government. Yeah. Then we talk about business and we talk about religion. So when you talk about what is the role of the government, the government must understand that when you want a system, you must also take care of the family.
Yeah.
You must. So if you miss it at home, You don't miss it in the
it.
school. And you don't miss it in the public. But all that, like I said, like Bill Graham said, and I close with that, I guess, if you want to disintegrate a family,
Yeah.
just
Scatter the family.
just scatter the family. So if the government wants to see a good society, what do? They
Keep
need
the
to begin to look at the families.
Family, yeah.
So bring back moral laws, bring back the curriculum, you understand?
Yeah.
Do things that the family will still be intact in terms of your policies.
Yeah.
Right. Right now, they're not bothered about it. They're not bothered
It's
about
not
it.
priority.
It's not priority. So
Okay.
that is it.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've got to come to the basics.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
boy, we can't be here with Bukky Femi-Ajala forever. I believe
Absolutely.
clearly
Thank you.
because of the passion that she has for family. It's transformational, and the development of the family is
Thank you.
real.
Thank
You know,
you.
to you. We appreciate you.
Thank you for
and
having
the
me.
time that you have
Yes.
spent on the
Yes.
show today.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
really,
thank
this
you,
is a
thank you,
conversation
thank you.
that must continue.
Thank you.
It must
You know,
continue.
when I saw on your CV the prison, and I was,
Yeah.
I was,
Yeah.
Because
I
you
was
interact
there.
with them,
Yeah.
and at the end of the day, you find out that their family, they had issues with their family.
Exactly.
That's
So,
it.
yeah,
Okay.
I believe it was Henry Van Til
That might be part two of this show.
who said that the family is, you know, the simplest and the smallest unit of
Absolutely.
society,
Of society.
and the real fountain of culture.
Yeah.
If this culture remains pure, well, man has promise, like they say. But if it becomes polluted, all the rest will turn into dust and maybe ashes.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So be reminded that Pharaoh Shoneko is getting ready.
Shenuga.
Shonuga is getting ready to take us into her newly found interest. You want to know what that is? Then you must join her later on the show. And that segment is called Lifestyle and Wellness. Right now, Dolly Phillips invites us all to join her in the gym for some shaking up. All right, Dolly, here we go.